Hello, and welcome back to the Garden of Grace devotion. My name is Pastor Katie, and I'm one of the pastors at Trinity Lutheran Church in Lilburn, Georgia. Today, I greet you from the community garden, which is at Good Shepherd Presbyterian Church. This is where Trinity has been gifted 8 bins to work on. And we plant and we harvest and we take the gifts from the garden to the Lilburn Co-op to donate. So the question I begin with today is, what kinds of things keep you from living out your daily life as a disciple of Christ? What keeps you from doing that? Do you ever feel concerned about if people will think you're just being silly? Do you worry about living in ways that are countercultural? For the past couple of weeks, I've been focused on this passage from Romans chapter 12. And today, I'm going to share with you just an excerpt of it again. It's Romans chapter 12, verses 12 through 18. It reads, "Rejoice in hope, be patient in suffering, persevere in prayer, contribute to the needs of the saints, extend hospitality to strangers, bless those who persecute you, bless and do not curse them. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Do not claim to be wiser than you are. Do not repay anyone evil for evil, but take thought for what is noble in the sight of all. If it is possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all." As I've spoken about the last few weeks, this passage Paul wrote to the early church, and they were trying to figure out what it looked like to live their lives as disciples of Christ, following Jesus in a really dark and confusing time. It was the early church, about 60 years after Jesus died and rose again. And that Christians were gathered in small house churches. And they were trying to figure out what to do. What it looked like to live a life as a Christian in the midst of the Roman Empire. So Paul wrote these words that were very countercultural. Extending hospitality to strangers was likely not second nature. Blessing those who persecute you. Weeping with those who weep. Rejoicing with those who rejoice. Do not claim to be wiser than you are. Associate with the lowly. If it is possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Those are not popular conversations even today. So often, talk is around giving people what they deserve or getting yours, even if you have to step on somebody else's head to do it, or wondering aloud what's wrong with this person or that person, or speaking ill of others. So much of that is second nature. It's ingrained in us. And there's a lot of encouragement in commercials and media and through word of mouth to live differently than this passage. And sometimes it can be awkward. It can be awkward and uncomfortable sometimes to associate with those that nobody else wants to associate with. sometimes it can be hard to not repay someone evil for evil, or to seek to live peaceably with all. Sometimes that can be hard in traffic. Sometimes that can be hard at work. Sometimes that can be hard in a church meeting. For we are all people, the same time saint and sinner. As I've been thinking about some of the things that keep me from living these ways in different situations, one of the things that comes to mind is pride and what others might think if you do the unpopular thing, what others might say if you act in ways that go along with this passage but perhaps seem shocking in your context. And along these lines, I have a story for you today, and it's fantastic. The heart of the matter in this passage from Romans is that Paul was calling the people and calling us to live out our lives as children of a different kind of kingdom, with a different kind of rules. Even though it may seem awkward and uncomfortable. And so I heard a story last week that just warmed my heart, and it actually is a story about a chicken. Yes, a chicken. I went to visit a woman last Friday, and she and her son have been through a lot over the last 6 months to a year. But during the course of that time, one of the gifts that they were given is several chickens, little chickens. So a few things happened to some of the chickens, and then a couple of them turned out to be roosters. So they were placed with other roosters in a place where they could be loud and make their noise in the morning. But they have this one chicken who is left. And they have this wonderful coop that they built in the backyard for the chicken so that she could be safe and do her chicken things. This is a different kind of chicken, though. Every morning, this chicken leaves the yard and walks the mom and her son to the bus stop. Every morning, this chicken leaves the yard and walks with the mom and her son to the bus stop of her own accord. This little chicken isn't confined by the things that people say chickens should be doing. God has put something unique within this little chicken. And this little chicken is journeying alongside this mother and son who have been through so much. After the son gets on the bus in the morning, the mom tries to encourage the chicken to come home. But she's not having that. Instead, she goes and she visits her chicken friends and her rooster friends that live down the street. And then at the end of the day, she comes home to sit on her nest. On her nest, which she has found and created in a different space than what the humans had in mind. But it's a safe space with shelter. And she has laid many eggs that she is now sitting upon. Chickens don't usually walk people to the bus stop. Not that I've seen. But this chicken is living out her best little life, journeying alongside people that she appears to have been called to journey alongside. What does it look like for us to embrace some of these attributes that Paul writes about? Even if it makes it look like perhaps we are doing something so countercultural like a chicken walking a family to the bus stop. I can only imagine how many neighbors look out the window and find joy in this scene every morning. I'm inspired by this chicken. I'm inspired by this chicken to seek to live in ways that God perhaps is calling me, even if it feels uncomfortable or strange, even if I wonder what people might say. Because really, at the end of the day, isn't God the one that I'm seeking to serve? Sometimes that may get me laughed at in other situations. Yet God is my creator, the one who gave me life, and the one who calls me to use it in service to God and others. I came to you today from this setting, for behind me is the sweet potato patch at the community garden. This year, we decided to plant sweet potatoes. It's something we've not done before. I think it's something no one in the community garden group has done before. And this Saturday, we are going to go on a sweet potato treasure hunt. We don't entirely know what we're doing because we've never done this before. We will likely look silly as we seek to dig up these sweet potatoes and then have them stored for a period of time before they're ready to take to the co-op. People may drive by and wonder what we're doing. We may wonder what we're doing. Yet this Saturday at 8:30 in the morning is an opportunity to serve in a unique kind of way that many of us haven't before. Now, it's not necessarily seeking to do exactly the things that Paul wrote about to the Romans, but it is seeking to use our gifts in a new and unique way. So I invite you, if you're local, please join us in the community garden at Good Shepherd Presbyterian Church this Saturday at 8:30 in the morning. Bring a shovel, wear some dirty clothes. Perhaps as we dig, we may reflect on some of the other ways that may be more challenging, that perhaps God is calling us to live out our lives, like that brave little chicken. In conversations with others, may God help us to have the courage to bless those who persecute and not to curse them, to rejoice with those who rejoice, to seek to repay no one evil for evil, and as long as it is possible, as far as it is possible, as long as it depends on you, may God give us the courage to live in a way that is countercultural and to live peaceably with all. I pray God's peace for you today and always, and I hope to see you Saturday morning for the sweet potato treasure hunt. Take care.